New Orleans is a city that I like to say has a philosophy somewhere to the left of Whoopi, and anything goes. There's a lot of excess to lifestyles here.
That is apparent on Bourbon Street, bar after bar, club after club. It's part of why people have come to New Orleans for years, a place to be carefree. Then came August 29th of 2005, when Hurricane Katrina blew ashore. The storm and the resulting flooding of 80% of the city changed everything.
For Katrina, I can remember it like yesterday. I was home on a Friday evening, and they said Category 5 was on its way from the Gulf coming. And I kept telling my mom all that day, we gotta go, we gotta go.
They didn't leave, and the floodwaters trapped them for days.
We got trapped in there for like a week, you know, no power, nothing to eat, couldn't do nothing. So then from there got on the buses sent us to the interstate. I waited on the interstate for about 5 days for a bus to come pick us up to bring us to Texas. And from Texas, I went to Arkansas.
When the storm hit, Lewis was using marijuana constantly.
I had to have it every day. I couldn't go to sleep without it, couldn't eat, couldn't go to church. Just couldn't have fun, couldn't do nothing I seen other people doing. I had to have it.
Katrina didn't stop Lewis from using, and it led some recovering addicts to relapse.
All was going well because I was in recovery again. I had been clean a little over 2 months. Then Katrina came and we went to the shelter, and I got the first money, the first assistance from Red Cross. And when I got that money, I relapsed and went back to using. After that, the cycle was on again. My addiction kicked in quickly.
Murray wasn't alone. Bars and drug dealers were some of the first to get back in business after the water started receding. The demand was there from a very stressed out population.
Basically, everyone in the city here is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. When you're in a position where your whole neighborhood, everything's been destroyed around you, all you're doing is you're seeing massive destruction from one end of the city to the other. You've lost your home, you've lost your friends, your network, and the people that you normally would connect with. All of a sudden you're looking for ways to try to deal with that on a psychological and emotional level. Sometimes the easiest way to do that is take a drink or to use other substances, smoke pot or use drugs. There are plenty of studies out there that show that anyone who's been through a traumatic experience has a higher rate of possibility of developing an alcohol or drug problem.
For a person who was stone cold sober and never had an alcohol drug problem, Katrina was a challenge. People gave themselves license. It's kind of like you had a hard day and say, you know, I have a hard day, I'm going to sit down and have a beer and maybe a couple because it's just been a really extra hard day. Well, there was more than just a hard day here. Katrina sent this entire city over the edge.
About 6 months after the storm, the Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse for New Orleans surveyed 603 people about their experience. 94% of them said their home had some degree of damage. 13% say they have increased their alcohol use, and 11% said they have increased their prescription drug use. And 1 in every 9 people surveyed said they knew of a family member with an alcohol or drug problem. But finding treatment isn't easy. Katrina left 5 feet of water inside Odyssey House, and it took about 2 months of hard work before it could reopen. It's one of a handful of treatment centers operating in New Orleans, not enough to serve the population.
The biggest thing that we've noticed is the increase in demand for services for substance abuse treatment. Right now we're a 120-bed facility. Before the storm, we were only 61-bed facility. And since the storm, we reconfigured ourselves to be able to have access for more services for people.
Since Cato reopened about 5 weeks after the storm, counselors have spent their time in the neighborhoods, going from damaged home to damaged home, talking to the people about their potential problems, not waiting for them to spiral out of control.
First time I saw a man who was just finishing he'd gutted his house, he had put in new drywall, new floors and so forth, and I was coming around asking how things are going. He said, come see my house. I walked in his house. He did a marvelous job. Did about 95% of it himself. And there was tremendous joy in his face. And he says, I'm coming back. This city's going to come back. And then we walked outside, and there's 2 FEMA trailers in his parking lot, in his driveway. And across the street, there's a house that's got weeds 7 feet high, and 2 houses on either side of them that have been gutted, but nobody's working there. And he's one of 2 houses on that entire block of maybe 20 houses that anybody's doing anything with or living there. And I felt joy for him, and I also felt grief for what was life going to be like for him a month later or 3 months later if his street is the same. How do you deal with that?
But there are some people living amongst the ruin who have found the positive in a negative situation.
The way I look at it, I wish it wouldn't have never happened, but it happened. And I kind of take all that and look at it like it helped me in a way, because if it wasn't for Katrina, I probably wouldn't have never made it here to where I'm at now. I'd probably be in somebody's cemetery, to be honest with y'all.
Instead, he is in treatment and on the road to recovery. Just like the rest of New Orleans.